Hello everyone, I'm Badresh Savani. This is our first lab for AI102 certification exam. This lab is about using cognitive service and like getting started with Azure related service. Like this is the first lab, so like it's little simple. In this lab, we will basically detect language from user text like English, then German, Spanish, whatever language user is inputting will detect that thing using cognitive service API. It will basically use text analytics services in the underhood thing. Okay, let's get started. So first thing first, we need to log into uh, Azure portal and we need to create a resource group if we haven't created earlier. Okay, we need to search for cognitive service. Once we get something like this, we need to click on create button. It will automatically select subscription, whatever you have. Mine is free trial, so it's like that. And here you need to select resource group. I have this resource group already created. If you don't have that, you need to create it using this thing. Here you need to specify resource group. Okay, and it will redirect you to create resource group. Here I have already created this AI102 resource group. I'll select that. Then region. This ideally it should be nearest to your location. Then instance name. You can specify whatever instance name you want to give. It should be unique. It should be satisfying these two criteria. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever number you want to give. It should be unique. That's the end goal. And pricing tier, it should be standard SO. Okay. And you need to acknowledge this and you need to review and create this. Once you do this thing, you will get something like this. Okay, if you go to home page, then you will get something like this. Like this one I already created. This is like cognitive service. Okay, so this resource group I already created. So once you create your resource group, you will see something like this in your dashboard. Okay, in the home page. So here it will show all the information, subscription tier, then ID, tax and all, then price tier. Then here, this is the most important thing. It's manage key. So if you want to access this service remotely using SDK or REST API, you need to utilize this manage key. Okay. So this, if you click on this, you will get the information about endpoint. Two things. One is endpoint, and there will be two keys like primary key and secondary key. Using that, you can do the REST API call thing. Okay. So for me, it is showing like this. So if I click on this, then it is showing me two keys and like one endpoint with region. So for doing API calls, I'll require this thing, endpoint, as well as this thing. So here in the endpoint, it's nothing but this name only, like whatever cognitive service name I have given, instance name, it's utilizing here only, and then the default URL thing. Okay, so let's see like how you can we can use this thing and do the language detection using SDK. Let's open VS Code. Okay, so we need to clone one repository, this Microsoft AI102 AI Engineering. So it's for like labs and all. It has like 24 different labs that I mentioned in earlier video. We simply need to clone it like this. Here we can click on clone, and earlier I copied that GitHub URL. We can directly select it like this, and here we need to specify the cloning location, destination location of repository. So I'm cloning it in the desktop. Once the cloning is done, it will show all the 24 folders here. One thing to note is I already have like my local setup configured. Okay, I want to open it in this window itself. Okay, so here in this repository, it has like code related to C# and Python. Like all the code it has it is in two different programming language. One is C sharp and one is Python. So based on your proficiency, you can select the language. And I would suggest like you set up your environment in two different language, so you can experiment with both of that thing. Uh, Inside this folder, Python folder, and like C sharp also, there will be two folders. One is using REST API without using any SDK client, and this second one is with SDK client. So like if you compare the code, this one will have a little more code higher, because like SDK will have like certain packages and all, which reduces the amount of code we need to write. Okay, so let's check the code here. Here you can see like it has like basic library only. Uh, it doesn't have like that packages and all provided by Microsoft SDK. So here, uh, like there are two files. One is environment file, and second is REST client.py file. So this environment file, we need to specify endpoint and key, either primary or secondary. So we can directly copy paste that thing. Like here we have endpoint. We can directly copy paste here, and this is like our primary key. We can directly copy paste like this. So whatever primary key you have, you can directly copy paste that in the environment folder, environment file. Once you do that, you will be able to run this. Sorry, this one. So here we copy paste this code here. So you will be able to run this REST client.py file. First, let's understand like what's there in this file. So here uh, we are importing all the libraries and thing, basic library that we are using for this particular request and all. Here in the main function, we are loading environment variable, this environment file with service endpoint and key. Okay, so it's the basic configuration. It will be stored in this two variable. Using this two variable, we will be able to do a REST API call. Okay, let's like these are the global variable, like it will be used across the file. Okay, so here in the main file, we are calling this get language function. Okay, this is the user, like it will wait for user text. Okay, so if user text is null, then it will like if user press the quit, then only it will quit. Otherwise, like it will ask user to enter some text. Based on user's text, it will detect the language. If something went wrong, it will throw some exception. So if a user enters something, it will store it in the user text, and it will try to find language for particular text. Okay, so in the get language function, we are doing a basic REST API call with some body, JSON body in this particular format, ID text document. Okay, in this particular format, we will create JSON body, and uh, we will uh, we will create HTTP request connection with some headers. In the headers, we will specify our subscription keys and all. Okay, and before URL, we will specify endpoint. Okay, so using endpoint and this key and the user text. Okay, here in the request body, we are storing the user text. So all that thing, we will pass it to the request, and whatever response we get response using get request response function, we will store in this variable and we'll read it and decode it. And this data, we will check like what is the status of the response. 200 means it's successful. So we'll print out like whatever response we get as a service response, and we'll show it. Okay, so let's do that. Let's click on this REST API client folder and integrated terminal. Let's open that. So it will directly open particular folder, and here uh, we can activate our Conda environment. I already set up my Conda environment, which is AI102. I can activate like this only, and I'll be able to run this REST client.py file. So it is asking for text. So hello. So the detected language is English. Here you can see. So, let's try another language. Vista. It's Spanish. Then another language, Guten Morgen. It should be German. Yeah, it seems to be working fine with REST API. Similarly, we can do same setup for SDK also. But for SDK, we will need to install one pip requirement. Okay, if you go to the SDK here, it is using text analytics service, Azure text analytics service. For this, we need to install particular package, and rest of the code is like pretty similar. Like this main function is exactly same. Here you can see like we are loading the environment variable, then we are calling get language function. Inside get language function, it has like little less code here because things are wrapped up because of Azure package. So here we are storing credential in with Azure key credential object, then text analytics client we are using. It's kind of wrapping the REST API call that we were doing with earlier code. Like it will directly give us like it will directly create one client object that can make the API call directly like this. It is like more managed code we can say, and in the response we are directly returning it like this. So this seems better compared to earlier in terms of number of line of code, and this is more readable. Yeah. So if you want to run that thing, we can directly copy paste this environment variable because both will have same environment variable. Okay. And here we need to quit this thing. Quit. Okay. Once we quit this, we need to go to this SDK client. SDK client. We can simply run this SDK Python client.py file. Here also we can check the same thing. It will give the language like this. It will do the API call. Okay, similarly, you can also check for C sharp. Here we need to here there are two things. One is program.cs and this is C sharp file, and this one is JSON file. This is also configuration file. Similar way we had like in the Python. In Python we had environment file. Here we have JSON file. Same thing. It's just configuration metadata file. You can say. Uh, okay, configuration file only. So if we specify this thing, we will be able to execute this thing without any changes. Let's also check the code here. Uh, it's like this. So it is also have like similar kind of code, but like language is different. That's it. Like logic will be same here. First, it's reading the configuration file. From there, it's storing the endpoint and key in some variable. Then it's kind of converting the coding thing like unique code. It's converting encoding and all that thing. It's taking care of. And here instead of print, it use console.readline and all. Like in the Python we were using input function, but here will require readline function from console. Okay, so it's similar kind of thing, just syntax is different, logic will be same. Here we'll use get language function. We'll call get language function, and it will be called asynchronous manner. And here there'll be request body, and we'll do REST API call. Similar way. Here we need to take care more about like encoding and all that thing, since C sharp is little low level language compared to Python. Python is more abstracted. Here, similar way, we need to construct the API call with endpoint and query string and all. and whatever response we get, we need to show it in the console. Same thing. Yeah. Here also we have option for SDK client, and here they have package name Azure AI Analytics, text analytics. So here also like code will be more manageable. Here you can see like it's just few line of code compared to earlier. Like it's more wrapped up. So this is more usable. Yeah, let's try to execute it. Activate, or like we can directly open this thing. Open the integrated terminal. Uh, uh, so dot net run with this command. We will be able to run particular .NET uh, functional code. This one is missing resources. Azure could not found. Okay, so like you need to take care of the libraries and all. If we run the REST API based thing, that should work fine, I think. .NET run, because this REST API thing doesn't require like additional resources. Here we need to specify package and all. In the case of SDK, here if we write like this, hello is the German thing, yeah, and hello is English word. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's it for language detection with REST API call and SDK based code calls uh, for using Azure related service. We are using text analytics, you can see here, and that's it, I think. Thank you.